Nikola Jokic was selected number 41 overall in the 2014 NBA draft despite NBA scouts firsthand witnessing how this 6'11" big man made creative no-look passes, shot from behind the arc, and scored against guys like Karl Anthony Towns or Clint Capella during the Nike Hoop Summit that year. While despite being overly talented, Jokic mostly fell to the second round because of questions regarding his defensive upside, his speed, and how his unorthodox style of play would translate in the NBA. But 7 years later, everyone would see how Jokic would dominate the competition on the way to becoming an NBA most valuable player. So if any, Nikola Jokic taught us that judging overseas talent purely based on the usual criteria wouldn't be the wisest thing to do. And so enter the 2021 NBA draft, another big man from overseas who brings the same issues as Jokic, like the lack of foot speed or the unorthodox kind of play, has been cast into the spotlight in the form of 6'10" Turkish big man Alperen Sengun. But thanks to Sengun's undeniable dominance in a top-tier pro league such as the Turkish BSL, where he won MVP as an 18-year-old, the Houston Rockets took notice and landed him with the 16th overall pick in the draft. But after playing in the recently concluded NBA Summer League, more people started to wonder how it was even possible for this guy to be drafted 2 spots outside of the lottery, as Sengun has low-key dominated the competition, displaying his incredible skill, maturity, and feel for the game in his first taste of NBA action, as in 4 Summer League games, Sengun averaged 14.5 points, 11 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 1.3 steals, and 3 blocks per game, while also carrying a solid 52% true shooting percentage. And yeah, for sure, it's only the Summer League, and comparing Sengun to Jokic is definitely a ridiculous thing to do, but I think it's safe to say that given the right developmental path based on his tools and current skill set, this guy could very well end up as the biggest steal of this draft. So what's good, guys? It's Real Balls here, and today we'll look at what we can make of Alperen Sengun's Summer League success and what it says about his potential future in the league. So let's get to it. To be honest, I was really surprised that Sengun dropped outside of the lottery, as I actually had him as the 6th best prospect in the mock draft / big board video that I put out. Well, I mean, I was really high on him for a lot of reasons. First, watching his film, the eye test actually told me that although this guy wasn't the most explosive leaper or the quickest guy on the court, he just had a really solid offensive package both in the scoring and playmaking aspects of the game. And although he's not yet the type of defender who would be able to guard quicker players in the perimeter consistently, he's still able to make up for it with solid timing, good effort, and mature instincts from anywhere on the court. And another thing is, this guy was the MVP of the Turkish BSL, which is widely considered to be the 2nd most competitive domestic pro basketball league in Europe. So basically, if you're averaging close to 19 points and 9 rebounds, more than a steal and more than a block per game, on a very efficient 63% shooting rate, while putting up the highest player efficiency rating that such league has seen in a decade, and if you're doing it against grown men, including some ex-NBA players as an 18-year-old like Sengun did, well, I think your chances of failing in the NBA are just really slim. And also, if you compare Sengun's per 40-minute pre-NBA stats to that of other highly touted overseas big men like Jokic, Marc Gasol, or Jusuf Nurkic, you'll see that his numbers are actually just at par, if not even better, in a lot of these statistical categories. Well, as you can see, Marc Gasol also put up monster numbers in the tougher Spanish league, but I mean, he did that when he was already 22. So I think you're just gonna take into account how statistically dominant and how productive and efficient Sengun was as an 18-year-old. And this comparison could very well mean nothing, since prospects develop differently over time, but it should at least tell you that Sengun just does a lot of things on the floor at a high level for his age. And to no surprise, we've seen glimpses of these kinds of abilities in the Summer League. Well, first of all, let's look into his interior scoring, which is definitely the strongest part of his scoring arsenal right now. While he was in the Turkish league, Sengun time and again was able to utilize his crafty footwork on the post together with his mastery of pivots, spins, and pump fakes to get by defenders and to be able to score around the rim. And he was also able to show his effectiveness in the pick and roll, as his combination of footwork, good hands, and good vertical leaping ability allowed him to roll to the rim, catch the ball from the pick and roll ball handler, and finish against defenders all in one upward motion. While in the Summer League, Sengun didn't get that many post-up opportunities as compared to what he had overseas, but I mean, that was already kinda expected considering that the NBA just plays at a faster pace. But whenever he had his chances, he was able to use his good foot speed and balance to spin around Precious Achiuwa, who is actually a pretty quick big man defender, and he was also able to use his strength and speed to back down and blow by another strong guy like Luka Garza one-on-one in the post. But he also showed that he can move just as quick off the ball in a half-court setup. Just like in this clip, watch how he reads the pick-and-roll defense, then he rolls to the basket and jumps just beyond the free throw line on the way to a one-handed catch and finish above the rim. I mean, that's some excellent display of pick-and-roll mastery and athletic ability right there. And Sengun has shown that he's capable of initiating offense from the top of the key as well. In this clip, watch how he fakes the handoff as he suddenly puts the ball on the floor, goes for a behind-the-back dribble, then he spins around multiple defenders defenders and ultimately finishes around the rim against contact. While that kind of play just shows a combination of great footwork, ball skills, body coordination, and craftiness which not a lot of big men have. And another thing is, Sengun always had great instincts and the nose to go after the ball on the rebounding end as he averaged almost 9 boards a game in the Turkish league. So I mean, I'm not surprised at all that he's able to average 11 boards a night, including a total of 16 offensive rebounds in 4 summer league games against typically young players who are yet to grow on their bodies when he was able to routinely grab boards against fully grown men before. Well, I mean, rebounding instincts typically translate in the NBA for prospects regardless of size, so I mean, I'm pretty sure that Sengun will be able to hold his own on the boards even early on. But for real, it's on the interior scoring end that I probably have my doubts. Well, I still think he'll be able to use his interior go-to moves in the NBA depending on the matchup, but you can pretty much expect guys like Gobert, Embiid, or even Giannis to be able to stay in front of him on the post or to deny him during pick and roll finishes at least early on in his career. But I think considering that Sengun is yet to grow into his full body and that he already has natural craftiness and good footwork, I'm pretty sure he'll eventually figure out the most efficient ways for him to finish on the paint against legitimate NBA competition. And besides, he'll have guys on his team who he can model his game around like Christian Wood and Daniel Theis, who aren't exactly the strongest or the biggest guys on the floor, but who definitely have some well-rounded skill sets for a big man. And while he's doing that, the good thing is, Sengun also has the tools to contribute from other areas of the floor. While the impression about him coming into the draft was that he was a bad shooter as he only shot 19% from deep in the Turkish league, but I think that evaluation is kinda tricky since if you look at it, he only took 21 outside attempts overall and he just wasn't really used as a stretch big kinda guy prior to coming to the NBA. But fast forward to the summer league, he actually shot 3 out of 8 from deep, which is a 38%, and looking at it, his shooting stroke looks kinda smooth as well, and it looks like the stroke of someone who could consistently shoot around the mid-30s in the NBA. So I think if he gets more opportunities to take those outside shots as part of Houston's system, he'll be right on track to be a real stretch big man option moving forward. And another indicator that he could fit right in as a modern day NBA big man is his natural ability to create plays for his teammates. While playing in the Turkish BSL, he played as a grab and go guy who could just run the floor and transition on the way to finding open teammates anywhere on the floor, and he was also able to leverage his post-up ability as he wisely waited for defenders to double him before he ultimately made kick-out passes to open shooters. And I'm pretty certain that he'll be able to bring that same type of playmaking to the NBA. Just like in this clip, straight off securing the rebound, Sengun effortlessly brings the ball down the full length of the court in transition before finally delivering the no-look dime to KJ Martin for the easy fast break finish. And again in here, watch how patient he is on the post with the ball as he uses some pivots and fakes against his defender before he ultimately dishes out a quick dime to a cutting Jalen Green. Well, these kinds of plays could look easy, but it definitely requires having the ability to read the floor well and the ability to execute the right kind of pass even under pressure. So having a big man with such natural playmaking instincts like Sengun would just enable the Rockets to have another potential ball handler on the floor together with guys like Jalen Green or Kevin Porter Jr., which should just open things more for Houston from a playmaking standpoint. And lastly, as good as he is in offense, Sengun's weaknesses definitely lie on the defensive end of the floor, at least when he's guarding the perimeter. And while it might take some time before he's fully able to guard quicker players, especially from the point of attack during switches, he definitely needs to get better at that to be a real two-way threat in the NBA's fast-paced type of play. But the good thing is, Sengun is able to make up for it with his quick twitch verticality and defensive instinct, especially when defending the pick and roll. Just like in this clip, watch how he moves his feet as he positions himself to time the pick and roll ball handler, who in this case happens to be Cade Cunningham, for a well-executed block around the basket. And again in here, he does the same thing, but this time against the roll man who happens to be Franz Wagner. And in another defensive possession, watch how Sengun reacts to the switch. He maintains a good vertical position while meeting the driving offensive player at the rim. Then again, he quickly steps in to challenge Saben Lee without fouling, which ultimately leads to a turnover. I mean, that's 2 good defensive stops in one possession for Sengun. And given his lack of vertical explosiveness, there could really be questions if he could do that, especially against bigger guys in the league. But I mean, if you look at it, guys who have similar size and wingspan who also lack elite hops, like Kevin Love, Julius Randle, or Domantas Sabonis, were still able to at least hold their own on defense in the NBA, although not in a spectacular type of way. And if any, Sengun has cut down 28 pounds from last year, from 268 pounds down to 242 pounds, which is pretty much a good starting NBA weight for a modern day NBA big man. And that should be enough for him to stay mobile while he's feeling out the NBA floor, at least during his first couple of seasons. But overall, we don't know yet if Sengun is gonna end up as a really special type of player in the long run. But if his summer league performances could mean anything, I think it just brings us back to the Nikola Jokic lesson, which tells us that instead of giving too much value in speed and physical tools, sometimes it could also be better to give credit to a prospect's craftiness, instincts, and feel for the game more than anything. So what do you guys think about Alperen Sengun? Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And also, if you've enjoyed this video, please help me out by giving this video a thumbs up and by subscribing to the channel as well. Again, this is Real Boss, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.